Imagine you're just doing your job, dropping off a few packages, when out of nowhere, someone storms at you, yelling like you've just committed a crime. That's exactly what happened in today's story, and it's all caught on camera. Welcome back to the channel, where we dive into the wildest tales from the entitled people subreddit. Today's drama unfolds in a quiet suburban neighborhood, where one woman, known by locals as the HOA Karen, took it upon herself to police every single delivery truck that dared enter her territory. It started with a few complaints. Drivers said she would block their way, shout orders, and even threaten to call the police over the most minor things. But things really took a turn when one smart delivery driver decided to start recording. What happened next was something nobody expected, especially not Karen. With her wild accusations, rude behavior, and refusal to back down, she crossed a line that ended with flashing lights and handcuffs. You'll hear how neighbors, who had enough of her antics, finally spoke up, and how the evidence piled up against her thanks to one little Bodycam. Was this just a misunderstanding gone wrong, or was Karen finally about to face some long-overdue consequences? Stick around, because you won't believe how this all went down. Karen wasn't just any neighborhood busybody. She was the self-proclaimed protector of the HOA rules, even though she wasn't actually on the board anymore. After a few heated meetings where she clashed with almost everyone, the community politely voted her out. But Karen didn't take the hint. Instead, she doubled down. Delivery trucks became her new obsession. Whether it was Amazon, FedEx, pizza delivery, you name it. She was out there, clipboard in hand, demanding IDs, questioning why they were there, even accusing them of trespassing on private property. Drivers started warning each other about her online. Some even refused to deliver to that neighborhood altogether. But it wasn't just the drivers feeling the pressure. Residents started getting delayed packages, missed food orders, and endless drama right outside their doors. People were frustrated, but many were scared to confront her directly. Karen had a reputation for twisting words and threatening legal action over the smallest things. The real tipping point came when a new driver, who had already heard the horror stories, decided he wasn't taking any chances. He clipped a small bodycam to his vest before his shift started. No one expected what that camera would capture, not just one angry outburst, but a pattern of harassment that had clearly been going on for months. And once the footage came out, there was no going back. The day everything blew up started like any other. The driver, Mike, was making his rounds, scanning packages and moving quickly. As soon as he pulled into the neighborhood, he spotted Karen standing on the sidewalk, arms crossed, tapping her foot like she was waiting for a fight. Mike, already warned by other drivers, turned his bodycam on before even stepping out of the van. Sure enough, within seconds, Karen stormed over, demanding to know what he was doing there and accusing him of snooping around private homes. Mike stayed calm, explaining he was just delivering packages, but Karen wasn't having it. While this was happening, several neighbors peeked through their windows, recognizing the familiar scene. Some even started recording from their porches, hoping to finally have proof of what they had been dealing with for months. The tension crackled in the air. Karen blocked Mike's way, refusing to let him leave, and kept throwing out random legal threats that made no sense. She claimed she had full authority from the HOA, even though everyone knew she didn't. At the same time, a side story started brewing. One neighbor, tired of being intimidated, had been quietly gathering complaints and witness statements about Karen's behavior. They had even contacted the actual HOA board and local authorities. But nobody knew just how badly this day was about to spiral out of control. Mike tried to stay professional, but it was getting harder by the second. Karen was now shouting loud enough for the whole street to hear, accusing him of being a threat to the neighborhood. She even pulled out her phone, waving it around like a badge of authority, claiming she was live streaming everything to the HOA security team, which didn't even exist. Mike calmly continued recording with his bodycam, knowing he needed every second of his interaction captured. Meanwhile, the neighbors who had been quietly watching finally started stepping outside. One by one, People came forward, not to back Karen up, but to defend Mike. They told Karen to leave him alone, to stop harassing people just trying to do their jobs. But Karen wasn't backing down. Her voice got louder, her accusations more wild. She insisted that Mike was trespassing, that she had every right to perform a citizen's arrest. She even tried standing in front of his truck to block him from leaving. Around the same time, the neighbor who had been collecting evidence finally made the call to the local police. They explained everything: the harassment, the disruptions, the fact that multiple delivery services had already filed complaints. Officers were already on their way, but nobody could have predicted just how heated things would get once they arrived on scene. The whole neighborhood held its breath. Just when it seemed like things couldn't get any worse, another twist hit the neighborhood like a lightning bolt. As Mike stood by his truck, surrounded by a few supportive neighbors, another car pulled up fast. It wasn't the police, it was Karen's husband. He jumped out, clearly upset, but not at Karen. He went straight for Mike, demanding he stop recording and leave his wife alone. It was clear he had no idea what had been happening or how bad it really was. Karen, seeing backup arrive, got even bolder, yelling at Mike to hand over the Bodycam footage and threatening to sue everyone standing around. The tension was through the roof. Neighbors tried explaining to Karen's husband that she had been harassing delivery drivers and that Mike was just doing his job, but he wasn't hearing it. Instead, he started filming Mike and the neighbors, turning the whole thing into an even bigger scene. More people from the block came out, some shouting, some just recording everything in case it went south. The quiet suburban street now looked like a chaotic movie set, all while Mike kept calm, still recording, still refusing to engage in anything other than stating the facts. At that exact moment, sirens echoed down the street. Flashing lights appeared at the entrance of the neighborhood, and the entire crowd shifted, waiting to see what would happen next. The police car pulled up fast, and two officers quickly got out, taking in the chaotic scene. Mike stepped forward, staying calm, and immediately explained the situation, mentioning the Bodycam footage. Several neighbors backed him up, all talking at once about Karen's months of harassment and how today had gotten completely out of control. The officers asked Karen to step aside, but instead of calming down, she kept arguing, insisting she was the real victim and that Mike was invading the community. Her husband tried to jump in too, but the officers firmly separated everyone to hear the full story. Mike handed over the Bodycam footage, and as the officers reviewed it, the shift in their expressions said it all. The footage didn't just show today's confrontation. It captured Karen clearly blocking the truck, making false claims, and threatening to call fake authorities. Combined with what the neighbors were saying, it was clear Karen had crossed the line from annoying to unlawful. One officer approached Karen, explaining that based on the evidence and witness statements, she was being detained for harassment and obstruction. The street fell completely silent. As they placed her in handcuffs, there was one final twist. Karen's husband, still yelling about how unfair it was, ended up being warned himself for disorderly conduct. As Karen was led to the patrol car, reality seemed to finally hit her. The so-called protector of the neighborhood had become its biggest problem, and this time there was no talking her way out of it. After Karen was taken away, the neighborhood finally started to breathe again. The officers stayed behind for a while, speaking with the neighbors and making sure all the witness statements were collected. Mike, still shaken but relieved, was thanked by several residents who had been too afraid to stand up to Karen before. The footage from his Bodycam didn't just help in this one case, it sparked a full review of the past complaints that had been piling up against her for months. The HOA board, who had stayed mostly silent before, finally stepped in after this incident. They sent out a community-wide notice reinforcing that no individual, including Karen, had any authority to confront visitors or delivery drivers. In the weeks that followed, the neighborhood grew quieter, deliveries returned to normal, and the heavy tension that once hung over the streets started to lift. Mike kept delivering to the area without any more trouble, and the neighbors learned an important lesson. Sometimes, the loudest voice isn't the one that should be listened to. This wild story from the entitled people subreddit reminds us why staying calm, recording the facts, and standing together matters. You never know when the truth might be the thing that changes everything.